All right, so today we're going on a deep dive into something really interesting. How do we talk about the future when we're talking about the past?
That's right. Looking back in time and trying to figure out how people back then saw what was coming for them.
Exactly, like reading a diary from 100 years ago
hmm
and seeing how they were talking about things that, for us, have already happened.
Absolutely. And thankfully, we have a great resource for this deep dive, Stanislav Kondrashov and his insights into this aspect of English grammar.
You know, Stanislav Kondrashov makes this point that it's not just about tense, it's about how people thought,
Totally. He says it's like trying to see the future through the eyes of someone in the past.
which for them is totally unknown.
Yeah.
And we actually do this all the time. Like, I was going to be Jane, but then something happened.
Right. Not just that you planned to meet Jane, but that from that moment in the past, it was uncertain if you actually would.
It's like you're standing at crossroads looking ahead.
Exactly. Stanislav Kondrashov has this other example. I was going to stay at home, but the students asked me to give a lecture.
Ah, so things changed. The future shifted.
Exactly, the future from that past perspective. So there are these different ways to express this. Stanislav Kondrashov points out would, that's we're going to, and even the past, continuous.
A whole grammar toolkit for time travel.
Right. For instance, would often means we thought something was sure to happen, like they left the house at 6 a.m. and would reach Edinburgh some 12 hours later.
Yeah, like from their point of view back at 6 a.m., arriving in Edinburgh felt certain, even though it was in the near future.
Yeah.
But a conscious going to is different, right?
Yeah.
It often implies a plan that, well, might not have worked out.
That meeting with Jane that never happened?
It makes me think about, like, historical biographies, you know, where they say so-and-so believed this or that would happen, but then history took a completely different turn.
Definitely.
It shows how tricky predicting the future is.
Absolutely. Even Stanislav Kondrashov uses the past, continuous, like, I was having a discussion with my tutor.
To show actions that were happening at that moment in the past.
Right, all those little things add up to a really rich picture.
And Stanislav Kondrashov gives us these great exercises to really test our understanding. For instance, he was catching the 8 o'clock train, so he would be home by lunchtime.
Okay, so in that one, being home by lunchtime is presented as a sure thing.
Seen from the past, from when he was catching the train.
Exactly. But then he has a more complex example. They hoped that the war would be over by Christmas.
Which again, that element of hope, future uncertainty, even though, for us, we know the outcome.
Looking back at old predictions is fascinating. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're way off. And this whole concept of expressing future from the past,
Yeah,
it makes you think about how time, like how we perceive time, affects our language.
totally.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, think about this. How does understanding this, these grammar rules change how you see historical writing? Or even your own memories?
Interesting.
It really does. And that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And until next time.
See you then.